Hello everybody and welcome to this stormy night in FRL. As you can see, we are at Silverstone for a very special event. 180 minutes of endurance racing around the home of so much motorsport. This is Silverstone, and to join me along for the ride, my good friend and buddy from Super Sunday Sprints is Retro Ghost. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing very well, thank you, mate. I was at a wedding last night, but I wasn't going to miss this. Absolute sensational track, 3-hour special, 180 minute. We have been told they have been advised to bring as many drivers as they can. 180 minutes, driver swaps included. Obviously, if there's 3 drivers, fantastic. Or if there's only 2 drivers, and obviously they're advised to split the race, obviously make it fair and square. But obviously for us, all the juicy action on this light drizzle / stormy track.
Absolutely. So we don't know too much about the upcoming weather. It looks like all wet from this point on, but within the space of 3 hours, anything can happen. British weather is temperamental at best for those that don't live here. For those of you joining from overseas, give us a hello, give us a wave, give us a share, and let us know what you think. Who do you reckon is going to win it, bin it, spin it, and who's ultimately going to... It's not always about being the competition. I'm assuming there's some inter-team niggling to be done as well. Those who want to say, do you know what? Well, I think I perform best for my team. Some bragging rights inter-team wise, I'm sure will go a long way after the race is finished. And sure, if they're managing amongst themselves, if they're race engineering for one another, I'm sure there'll be some niggle. But in P1 Retro, there's a number you're familiar with up there.
That's the only time my race number's ever going to get up to P1, I think. But it is in a Ferrari, so I'll give him kudos to that. But say, as we are just looking through some of the field, it is free practice. So obviously, some of the drivers that are doing the driver swaps will be allowed to race at the same time as their teammates, whilst it is free practice. But obviously, once the session, does get underway, then obviously some of these drivers will be disappearing. But some of the team names we do have already. We've got NRW Performance from T Brewer at the moment. We're probably going to butcher some of these names, as some of these names aren't in our usual Sprint Sunday. I do see at the very bottom Van der Waal. Obviously, we did have a great story from him from Laguna Seca, where he did punch a marshal as he got a cheeky penalty before race 2 started. However, Van der Waal did leave the marshals alone for this 180 sprint. Who knows, but say good to see Van der Waal back. Hopefully going to leave the marshals alone.
So we're going to go
Jay
down.
Pearson in slow and steady, but mainly I can't see the full name at the moment. It'd be great to see if I can get some of his team names up on the timetables. Yes, I can. So if you go onto the timetable screen, buddy, just whilst we are in free practice, just to get some of the team names in. Ooh, bit of collision from Maggots and Beckett's there from 2 drivers.
So just while we're in practice, we're going to go top to bottom with the names. So we've got T Brewer and J Musarat in NWR Performance, Retro mentioned earlier before. We've got G Taksukowski and
Tazakowski, I'm assuming.
Taksukowski and Kate Faster in a Seria Racing Team, or HRT, as they've helped us out with. We've got Banging Ducks, the team of Jay Bonham and Jay Zukowitz. Then we've got what looks like an absolute psychopath in the Benzi Continental, all racing around by himself. That's Jay Wazzer and the Dodgy Dogs Racing. We've got P. Rackett and K. Zwarden. Oh, we see a Mercedes spinning in the background. The devil has found him. And then we've got D. Ulig and M. Noor in Endgamatic Sport. And we've got Jay Robertson and Jay Mason in the GHR K1 Esports car 114. And we've got R2RGB comprising of G Harvey and Jay Clayton, 2 drivers we are familiar with from the Sprint Sundays. And another one we're familiar with, both racing against and in the Sprint Sundays, is Sir Fontaine and Haymans in RW Racing. Will Friedman has joined us in the comments. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you bring all your friends and family along with you. It'll help we can get out here. We've got Sween, looks like he's racing by himself in the McLaren in Aries Racing.
I mean, Sween wants to keep it clean on Silverstone. If you remember, buddy, Sprint Sunday, Silverstone, I think it was race 1, Sween had a big snap in the lead that cost him a W on race 1, but so it's great to see he's come back with a vengeance for this endurance.
Friedman's just told us that these are all the information we're reading out is available on SimGrid. But we are going to roll it down just for those who maybe are just visiting on YouTube. So there they are, taking at your leisure, as we are now set for the race. I'm going to go up to the top of the grid to John. I'm going to assume it's John Bonham because it just sounds right. You see a J, if in doubt, call him John.
Could be a Jake, could be a Jack, John. It's like that BBC thing. It's like Alan. No, it's not Alan. Steve.
Take time.
And we are professionals, of course.
We're absolutely professionals. But no one's going to be missing
3 hours.
Oh yeah, by all means, guys. If you're wondering why standards might lapse a little bit this evening, it's because we've been kindly asked to cover 3 hours as opposed to 2. You may hear retro snoring, you may hear me going a bit delusional, but we are here and we are going to subliminally at least move through the drivers and bring you the action. But we know Silverstone well. We know some of these drivers relatively well. And once the countdown has finished, we're going to get under a formation lap and then flying around for 3 hours worth of laps around Silverstone. So even more so than usual, Retro, we're used on a sprint Sunday, the driver's not having a much chance of coming back and gaining positions back from spins.
Well, it is all to play for, mate. Say endurance race, driver swaps. So obviously the drivers that say do have the opportunity of having a teammate or an extra teammate having the extra stint or the extra gun on, say, a driver that may only have 2 or even 1. Obviously those pit stops will add up, but obviously they will strongly advise to make it fair. So obviously all drivers roughly driving the same stint, as it will come into a nice bit of play if, say, a 3-man team compared to a 2-man team obviously might alternate or do different strategies. See how it all plays out.
Absolutely. I was just more alluding to the fact that unlike what we're used to on commentary, is people can actually come back. They've got more than enough time to come in, even with the worst collisions, swap a driver, swap a wheel, swap a nose, and come back out and really put the laps in and bring it all back with the bit between their teeth, which is not something we often get to see in endurance racing. Obviously, most people who join endurance racing online, not everybody has the time to compete in such events like this, the 3, 6, 12, 24-hour streams, obviously with the casual nature that is esports at home. But every now and again, we do like to bring up the realism and get everybody in, and let's try and bring a more traditional endurance racing experience to those on the track and for you watching at home to actually have a longitudinal sort of race format. As Friedman has just said that it's showing him in P8 on the grid, but he's not in the car. Assuming he'll correct that for himself relatively shortly. In trouble.
We are checking.
So drivers should be readying up around about now. You can see some lights coming onto the cars, and we are going to get flying around Silverstone. Thank you for everybody who's joining so far. 14 in the stream. Let us know who you're supporting, and if you're not supporting anybody, tag somebody else in so they can tell us who they're supporting. And I hope for everybody that's maybe not familiar with FRL, that you enjoy this evening. But if you look to do more than just enjoy this stream, you can get involved in the Discord if you just drop a message in the chat. I'm sure there's 2 admins currently sat in the chat. I'm sure one of them can get in touch with you and send you a Discord link. All things FRL, we cover iRacing, GT7, Assetto Corsa, both on PC, and Competizione on console. Oh, and they're away. Very short opening lap. So Bonham makes a good getaway, followed by Sween, not too far behind. We've got the Aston Martin there of G. Harvey already slightly off track, but he's regained it in. And Sween not letting go the McLarens. Line astern. 1, 2, 3. As they go to Maggotts and Beckett. You don't know much of a timing screen to tell you what's close yet, but we're going to get on board with it when we see it.
A bit of close racing there towards the back there. I think it was T. Brewer making quick work of one of the Ferraris towards the back there.
So just had what looked like it was going to make 3 wide into Stowe there. We go back up towards the front, and also Zukowicz is still heading off Sween, who is starting to gap the car behind him of Colpitts. As we do finally have some times on the board. Quite far back, we've got Handley trying to chase down the McLaren of Townsend. Oh, as the Bentley of Jay Prentice just gets tapped out there, but Jay Prentice is going to round it on the outside into the loop. Now this Bentley's got some grunt, but how's its traction in the rain? Seems to get beaten off by the Porsche, but now he's actually got the power down. The Porsche goes wide, goes over the curb, and does allow the Bentley through. Oh, as we see a Mercedes going deep. This is where I rue that my track map is upside down when I refer to.
Oh, you don't need a track map for Silverstone, Greg, surely.
There's a few corners that get mixed up. So I'm just on board with the Aston Martin of Harvey. He's trying to chase down Colpitts, who has been left a bit stranded by the top 2. So there's a lovely jet black Aston Martin there with the yellow accents of Harvey weaving through. Can't get anything done just yet as he exits Chapel and down the Hangar Straight. Grayson the Porsche, he did seem to have good following speed to Maggotts and Beckett on HRT.
Not sure if Pearson had a moment, car 54 towards the back, but say he still seems to be driving, which is great to see.
Yeah, he's very much dropped off the pack there, but quite so racing a long way to go. Oh, as we're picking Prentice up. Trying to dive one around the outside of the McLaren. Nose through goes Hamilton moment here, but the Porsche behind of Jay Handley looks kind of handy as we've got Ferraris in the background sliding off the track going side by side, and that's going to allow Mason to come through on the inside. Oh, Very gets his nose almost cut off as he comes. Oh, as he slides, there's Mason, pulls it back together.
So just going to interrupt you there, buddy. Harvey made a great dive on Colpitts into the village section there, down the straight, gets a great drive out the corner there, has pulled a nice little gap there. Colpitts now under threat from Rackut, I believe, in the Hasura racing team. So Tazakowski also tight there as well.
And also M. Grace has just had a move done as well on Spanu. They went into the corner together. M. Grace has come out of it ahead, and he looks like he's getting a great drive on the Ferrari ahead of Colpitts, almost pushing him along.
Colpitts is a McLaren. Oh dear.
They look similar to me.
No, they don't.
So we're going to go down the field now. We're going to pick up Mason, who we were picking up earlier, who did seem to get thwarted in his Ferrari as he came around the first sector.
All back up, got a great drive out of Chapel. Is he going to try and make a move on the Aston Martin for P3?
As I flicked off Mason, it looks like he just had a bit of a moment and went round. Yeah, Mason did just lose a lot of pace there.
Fend him off well.
Looks settled for now.
You got P9 going for a dive on Spano. All no thinks better of it than McLaren does. Edge's car in front of the Porsche. Taking hold of P8 there. Oh, Tazakowski has a moment there. Spano just behind, capitalising on that gap.
And Spano, I think, just went a little bit deep as well. Didn't quite manage to get capitalisation that he wanted. The Porsche of Oleg behind had a little look.
We've got F. Rodriguez just slightly behind. Ooh, looked for a move on Van der Waal, but Van der Waal defensive game there after throwing his punches, putting a great block on Van der Waal.
Can't think of a car I'd want to be in less than the Mustang around a wet Silverstone.
That's why we commentate, buddy.
Oh, as Rodriguez does dip to the inside, has a little look. Nothing doing there.
Oh, just
cars behind really excited.
Hutchinson. Oh, he's going to try and go for the extreme inside line.
Squeezes him.
He's got the outside of Woodcock. Can the Porsche get the power down? Or is the McLaren going to slippery fish his way through? Yes, he does.
Cuts him off, and then further behind, we've got King and Prentice side by side. Bentley and McLaren, two big barges.
The battle of the tic-tac barge.
At the end round cops.
Touch of the curb in there. Bentley goes for a sail across the tarmac there.
So the pack is just starting to spread itself, but the leaders are starting to bunch up. I've just got on board with Rakut, who's eyeing up a move on Harvey. Harvey, who took the position off Rakut only a few laps ago, hasn't managed to escape him. Harvey, in small inability not to be able to catch the two leaders, who are running line astern. Oh, as Rakut gets a little bit snaky on the exit of the loop.
Big dive from Brewer there. And so Friedman did mention in the comments before this race started, the team NRW performance started from last and has made his way all the way up to P19. So 10 places in just under 8 minutes of racing already.
So HRT have just made a move on the Mercedes of Tulloch down the pit straight. Oh, as they get very tight! No, into the loop! And we have HRT facing backwards now. Not quite sure what that means. In the comments, thank you, Klika, for dropping a comment. However, I'm not quite sure what your comment means.
Big train now coming in, say past the pit straight. 4 cops, we've got Spanu and Tazakowski. Oh,
big move from Spanu around cops. He's still there, still side by side.
Oleg also just behind, trying to punch his way through in that Porsche. Oh no! Tazakowski gets tagged
and there's a
spun
few
again
more.
by another car. Heyman's got collected in that.
As did Rodriguez.
Passenger.
A few cars
this is causing cars everywhere. We've got the Bentley, the tic-tac Bentley of Prentice having to take avoiding action there.
We just picked up Hutchinson. No, sorry, Prentice. Looking to make a move on Hutchinson. He's throwing his nose to the inside as he comes into Stowe. Doesn't feel confident on his brakes. What does that mean for Handley? We see Rogers on the inside of Bauer behind.
We did have
going in side by side.
Bauer there from Rogers. Now Rogers got the inside line. And the outside. Can Bauer get the power down? I think he can. another
As if he
place.
joins the train. They've shown a lot of incentive in P13 to get past Hutchinson. Managed to come out of that sequence with the madness that was happening at Maggotts and Beckett.
Ooh,
We're still in a reasonable position.
There, buddy. We've got M. Grace trying to line a move up on coal pits for P5 there. Grace did dive to the inside there.
As it looks like Colpitt's just got a little bit snaky as he came into the field.
Just joining this as well, this little three-way fight.
Cars drifting around that bend. Oh, as they get a huge tap